Today's video is all about ZERO1 Labs, powering decentralized AI. Today's video, we're going to do a deep dive looking into the project, trying to figure out some of the fundamentals, the tokenomics, the team, the overall value proposition, and ultimately trying to figure out whether this project has what it takes to make it to our bullish portfolio for the up and coming bull run. So you know what, let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins. Looking for opportunities. The question is ZERO1 Labs, DEAI, an opportunity? Of course, guys, today we're going to be looking into some of the fundamentals. We're going to be looking at the tokenomics, the overall, token distribution, things to do with the tokenomics are obviously very, very important. We're going to take a look at the team. We're going to take a look at, the overall value proposition. What is the tech trying to solve? Ultimately, software solutions are important. We trying to find a solution to a problem is obviously going to give it some value. Obviously, the utility of the token is so important. What is the token being used for? And ultimately to see if this project has some, power to stay within this bull run and go very strong within the bull run so we can buy low and sell high. ZERO1 Labs, ultimately, it's been talked about quite a bit. The overall community, people are buzzing about it. They're thinking that it's definitely a competitor to some of the major players out there. And of course that, intrigues me. That gets me interested, and it gets the general market interested, which for me means that we need to do a deep dive, and here we are trying to navigate this project. Guys are going to be using the website as our main platform to try to figure out what this project is all about. Obviously, it's a good time to kind of critique the major, let's say, platform where we can get our information from, which is the website. Let's see if the team is keeping this website up to date, giving us all the fundamentals we need to get the overall sense of what this project is about, and more importantly, to make sure that it is, retail market friendly. I think a lot of projects nowadays need to focus on the fact that they need mass adoption, and they need to make the information available to the retail market, not only available, to make it available in such a way that is easy to understand, right? That's very, very important, guys, because not all of us, have computer science degrees, and we need to be able to understand exactly what is being offered here as the solution to a problem. So obviously, just based on its, little intro here, powering a decentralized AI, this is obviously an AI narrative play, very hot narrative, a narrative of which many of us believe is going to be very, very dominating in this bull run, powering the next generation of confidential on-chain AI applications. So again, this is potentially a scenario where we can see development happening, developers getting on board, creating applications, decentralized applications, all revolving around AI. All right, so let's keep on going down. Let's see what else we have here. Just keep note that we have a build section up here, discover, join us, and learn, which is something that I'm interested in, of course, learning. A zero construct programming AI incubator. Okay, so this is interesting. Mainframe at its core, basically democratizing global access to vetted crypto AI projects. So it looks like ultimately what an incubator really stands for, really what it represents, is when a project is being built, there's individuals or organizations, institutions, major players in the space that basically take the project under their wing and help them get going and help them launch the project successfully. So in this case, Zero AI is looking to host and basically help some projects get launched under their network, which is obviously what we want to see if we want to see ecosystem growth. And for me, as as an individual that's been in the space for a while, as a developer myself, I understand how important it is to get incubated by some influential people. We are fully committed, driven, focused on fast tracking launches, developing a niche for AI expertise and developer resources. So supporting projects and giving them the runway, giving them the platform of which they can be successful. And this is what they're offering as well here. So it seems like a zero construct program is basically an incubator program. Now, there's other things to note here. The Keymaker, this seems like another application or another focus. AI multimodal marketplace, so leveraging DEAI toolset and API. Right away, when I read this, you know what I think about? I think about developer support. I think about, giving developers tools in order to be successful and easy to deploy applications. So an open platform designed specifically for open source DEAI developers. So utilizing our pre-built tools, streamlining your workflow with our Zapier-like API, and launch your application on our marketplace. So they're basically, not only providing an incubator, but also giving a marketplace and, development tools to enhance their ecosystem growth. This will ultimately give major utility for their token, because as applications are built on the network, we're going to see that the utility of the token will go up. And if utility goes up, use case goes up, and there's a motive or a reason to be holding and buying and selling and volume and all that good stuff. So far, I'm seeing that these 2 points have a lot of value for future growth for the overall ecosystem. And I appreciate ecosystem focus. Guys, if you've been watching my deep dives, whenever I see focus on ecosystem, I see sustainability and I get really, really bullish. And then we have the Cypher. We have fully homomorphic, basically encrypted EVM compatibility. So for those of you that are new to crypto, just quickly, EVM compatibility or EVM essentially means that the backend, the way the software communicates, the language that it uses, is basically compatible with the Ethereum virtual machine. And what the Ethereum virtual machine, the language that it basically knows is Solidity, which is the main language for all Ethereum smart contracts and programming of those smart contracts. So if in this case, if Cypher is EVM compatible, what it means is that any projects that are built for Ethereum can also be deployed on Cypher, which obviously goes back to that ecosystem growth. If there's less friction, if there's more possibility, that means that their ecosystem will grow a lot faster. So a common factor so far of what I'm seeing on these 3 main points, Zero Construct Program, Keymaker, and the Cypher, is the fact that they're supporting their ecosystem growth. Guys, this tells me they understand about their overall value of the foundation of the network, which is the dApps, or the applications, the development team behind all the software applications that are being built. I appreciate this. So Cypher is tailored for AI and large language model driven applications. So LLMs, so learning language models, large language models that AI uses, like ChatGPT. In this case, this is what they're focusing on, of course, functioning autonomously as its distinct blockchain to facilitate decentralized AI applications. So I want to pause here for a second, because Cypher is still in the works, right? This would be considered their mainnet. From my understanding, this would be considered their mainnet. Currently, the project is deployed on Ethereum. It's basically an ERC20 at this current moment. And this is why, it's EVM compatible, and this is what makes it valuable, because ultimately it's easy to bridge this project over to the Cypher network, to the Cypher chain, their own custom blockchain tailored for AI. And I appreciate that. When I read the word tailoring, I start to think about, okay, is it modular? Is it going to be, is it going to provide, obviously, back to this, a marketplace for tool sets and APIs to assist the development of this chain? And that's what we want to see, is the applications being built on the chain. Guys, I know I'm spending some time here because I feel like this is one of the major value propositions that they're aiming to offer here, is the focus on the ecosystem. So that's pretty good there. Explore Mainframe. Mainframe is built to help bootstrap and grow early communities for AI teams. Guys, we've talked about this a little bit already, all in one community engagement platform. This is good. The AI Academy, SocialFi platform, Stake, DEAI, on-chain task, referral system. So they got a lot going on here. List on Keymaker. So now they get into a bit of detail, which kind of gets confusing, because why not give these points above above, but list on Keymaker. So this, again, a marketplace for all DEA multi-models, leverage our economic framework. So basically it's going to be almost like a store or a marketplace where you can go and get access to different things, different tools, and so on and so forth, and which is obviously what they're trying to build, the ecosystem. And then the cipher, obviously the blockchain that they're trying to pull out, and the mainnet is around the corner, and they're trying to get that going. The encryption, you can look into that, the concurrent processing, so multiple processing at once, and this makes things faster, efficient, and the throughput for complex workloads gets improved, which is good. The modular design, I already am, thought about that when I started reading, their description of their blockchain architectural approach that, segments the system functionality. When you think about modular from a programming perspective, you got to think about concepts like code reusability. You got to think about concepts like organization, and the fact that when you think about modular, it's easy to kind of move things around and make things upgradable very easily without disturbing the big picture program. So if anybody out here has a computer science background or development background, they kind of understand what I mean here. Modular design is actually very useful for being able to make changes to code without disturbing the big picture application, which is very, very useful if you want that customization, if you want to be able to make module methods custom to what you're, or maybe even basically override a method or customize a method or something like that. So that would be very, very useful here in this modular design, which I appreciate. And it's an architecture that a lot of traditional programming languages use. So I'm glad to see that. Fully configurable setups, which is good. Of course, if you can configure things, you can customize things, you can tailor things to benefit, build natively for AI apps. Perfect, engineered from the ground up to support AI applications. So reality is this sounds great, but it's not yet deployed, and we got to see this happen in order to get super bullish on this on this network. But ultimately it's in speculation. Obviously, if you think that this is where they're heading, it's bullish. It looks really great. It looks bullish. AI focused open source platform. What else could we ask for? Supporting global developers. This is what I like to see, the supporting of the developments of the ecosystem. Guys, I'm seeing a lot of focus on ecosystem growth, which for me is really good. Global development events, okay, they're out there doing their thing from a social perspective. Singapore token 2049, all this kind of good stuff. Feel free to check that out. What else do we have? We can explore their ecosystem. Let's open this tab. We don't want to join here. Get listed on Keymaker, build on Cipher, and that's that. And then we have the docs, which I have open already. The Explorer, this is not open yet because obviously mainnet is not. So we can look at the Etherscan if we like. We have the roadmap. Let's kind of see what's in here. And then we have, again, let's open up the ecosystem. Let's see what's going on here. And then the light paper, we got the light paper. Let's open up that. We got a lot of tabs to open. Governance, obviously, guys, it's a DAO. There's a DAO backing some of the capital or some of the liquidity here, which means that in order to be spending some of that liquidity that's under governance, it's got to be put to a vote, which is obviously something that we want to see, especially in an autonomous organization. Who makes the decisions? Well, we're going to put it to a vote, which is really good. Branding and so on. And about, we can get into the about section. Okay, we got a few tabs. Let's get right into these tabs. Let's see, powering the AI economy. Let's see what we got here. So upon a bit of research, guys, I was able to kind of look into some of this, okay? And I want to make sure that we understand that, logos are not, I'm very critical on logos. And when I see like Google and I see like big players, especially Google, I start to question it, right? Now, the relationship with Google is good, but it's not necessarily a partnership, right? They were able to get into their program where they get funding and their sponsorship and so on, and their Web3, forget the exact name, but it's basically they're basically getting funding from Google's Web3 Yeah, so let's kind of look into it more so I can get some of my words together. Accelerate your digital transformation. Google can solve your challenge. So basically, they are they receiving grants. That's the word I'm looking for, is grants. So which is good, guys. Obviously, they're on Google's radar. This is good for future development. This is good for development as far as receiving the grants. But I think that's where it ends at this current moment. Not to say that it can't go forward. That relationship can improve, but getting grants in both financial and services, or even help with infrastructure like their computing processing power and things like that, is obviously great. But do I necessarily consider this a partnership? Not necessarily. So I wish some of these websites would just be a little bit more clear as what the relationships are. So that's very strategic partnerships. If you click this, you get some other partnerships, which is good. And then you have Web3 programs, which is good. At least they're identifying that it is just a Web3 type of program that they're involved in. I appreciate that. Okay, so back to here, they have Oasis. Rose is the ticker. They are involved here with the privacy layer. This is interesting. This is a good partnership. This is a good scenario. Another thing that I do like is this Aether. Guys, I did do a deep dive on Aether, and it's directly in line with this possibility that they could be looking for in maybe a business relationship or a business, maybe amalgamation or something like that, where they can be using resources, right? So that is very useful as a decentralized, basically DePIN scenario. This is one of my major questions about ZERO1 Labs, is where is their infrastructure? What is their plan for infrastructure? And basically on my conversations that I had on the Discord with some of the top moderators and maybe even team members, because I was trying to get a hold of a couple of team members. It was quite difficult to get a hold of somebody, but from the information that I was able to gather, there's no real major plan as to where they're going to be getting their processing power. And this is something that concerns me, because I've been, obviously doing research, not only primary research, but also secondary research from individuals that have already kind of dabbled into some of the fundamentals. And there's a bit of a misconception. And I think what I want to do is pause right here and just go to the white papers, or the light paper, which is basically just a deck here with all kinds of graphics, which I appreciate. But I want to take you straight to this page right here, because there's a huge misconception with a relationship. Just give me a second here before I just want to find the exact page. And there's a lot here that we can talk about in a second. And a lot of it is a bit repetitious, because the website does a good job kind of highlighting some of the details. And I believe it's this one. Now, as I zoom in, you'll notice that there's a few logos here, and these logos are a bit concerning. And the reason why they're concerning is because I've seen already many individuals in the crypto space already assume that, ZERO1 Labs, the DEAI project, is involved with Akash, Filecoin, and Arweave, which in fact they are not. These logos here are set here as an example of the type of projects that will resemble the Cypher project. And if you notice here, there's this logo. This logo right here is the Cypher logo. Their layer 1 blockchain that they are gonna potentially go into mainnet soon. So what they're doing is saying, look, Cypher is going to compete with Akash, compete with Filecoin and Arweave, all of which are part of that DePIN narrative. So what we can expect is that Cypher is going to be a DePIN project, but really I am not sure and confident about their overall architecture, because I've seen a lot of DePIN projects, AI projects particularly, not really solve the decentralization of their infrastructure, which what I mean by this is that their GPUs that they use are centralized and they're owned and governed by the team. And I want to see where this goes. I wasn't able to get a hold of team members to give me solid factual information, and obviously the white paper doesn't give me that solid understanding. And unfortunately that's a big problem, because you want this information readily available, and it could be that maybe I'm front running, maybe they're not in the mindset yet to really offer this clarity, but it would be nice to understand. And these logos are a bit deceiving, because there's some people out there in the crypto space believing that this is part of their ecosystem, which it's not. They see ChatGPT, they jump right on. And this is a very common concept with the retail market. The retail market, it's easily deceived, because a lot of the retail market don't understand even what these logos represent and how this plays in, right? So we have to be very careful from a marketing perspective that we don't send the wrong messages. Okay, so let's get back to where I was at. I know I'm bouncing around a little bit, guys. Bear with me, but I'm trying to, piece everything together for you guys so you can make your own critical decisions. So I'm hoping that this relationship right here evolves into something where Aether could provide that, or at least help them with their decentralized infrastructure, their DPIN infrastructure. So that's good. And the fact that they have that relationship from now as a small project is very, very healthy. Okay, so good stuff. And I like, obviously, I like to see Oasis, the privacy layer. Guys, we know that the privacy concept lately has been politicized, and a lot of people are talking about they want privacy and self-custody and all these good things. So it could be a definite good thing to have, Oasis here and a part of the strategic partnership lineup. Pretty good stuff. Obviously, there's Netmind and some others. Really cool, obviously. And for a small project to have so many and strategic ones, this is great. This is great. All right, so let's move on. Let's see. We got that going. And let's take a look at the roadmap. The roadmap is solid, guys. I was quite impressed. They got a lot of good milestones already checked off in Q2, Q3. I think we need a bit of an update here. But really, what we're just kind of understanding is that they want to get into beta testing. I think that's the test net for Cypher. I think this is where the major focus is on in the current scenario, and getting some incubated projects. Right now they only have 4. They got 4 going on, which is still good. And then obviously the development documentation for their SDK for the keymaker. This is part of the support that they're giving developers, of course, to encourage an ecosystem and the ecosystem growth. The beta testing, this is all of which they want to get going before they get the mainnet launch event in 2025. So you can see their focus now is transitioning from, being an Ethereum project based on the Ethereum network and onto their own blockchain. And this is what we have to watch out for, guys. And as this happens, it's very likely that we see, listings, exchange listings, and, volume and interest and all this kind of stuff. So right now, I appreciate the clarity. I like the fact that they have some dates at least that we can go by to see where they're, allocating their capital, meaning even their, working capital, how much effort, where they're putting their efforts. And I appreciate all this list and the amount of detail that they provide. So that's good. Let's move on. Powering the AI economy. So they got their ecosystem. This is a bit of repetition. Let's get rid of this for a second because I don't want to duplicate. And then back to the white papers. And then we have this. And who is it? Okay, so we're going to talk about the team in a second. Before we do that, let's take a look at the white papers here just for a bit. This is the legend or the table of contents. Speaking of Anon, the CEO, the head individual is anonymous of the team, so let's just keep them in mind. But they refer to Anon is, I guess, the person that is reading it, and this is a common theme throughout the overall marketing of the project. If you go on the Discord, it has a very Matrix-like feel to it, which is cool. I'm not saying it's good for engagement, but it can get a bit confusing. Sometimes, less is more. Sometimes just being straightforward, and you can see that even their key maker, their zero. All these marketing, all these titles that they provide can get a little bit confusing. The keymaker and all the other stuff that they got going on here, the zero construct program and all this, it gets a little bit cumbersome with language. So just keep in mind as you're going through the white paper or the light papers. It's not a full-on white paper. This is just a light paper. So they reserve the right for changes. And they talk about the inflection point of what's going on with AI and how they can provide a solution. Note that they refer to themselves as a DEAI in the sense that they're decentralized AI. I find this interesting because DEAI is the ticker, and not only that, it stands for decentralized AI. It's almost like it's a narrative on their own, right? It's not just AI, they're ensuring decentralization. And as I mentioned before, I'm very curious how they're going to decentralize their infrastructure. So an ecosystem owned by DEAI community, and you can see how based on this title, these logos get confusing, but feel free to, read through this. This has a lot of repetition of what I already explained about ecosystem. Again, the flywheel, the keymaker cipher, zero construct, the economic framework, guys. This is everything that I've talked about already. feel free to review this in a different vocabulary. As you can see, they clarified it very nicely here. They're going to have a dApp store. They're going to have their proof of stake. This is something that I feel to already bring to your attention. It is going to be a proof of stake, and a lot of other projects nowadays are still proof of work, and it's good. Proof of work is still good, but there's inefficiencies with proof of work with regards to transactional costs. So what they're trying to do is reduce those barriers by making it proof of stake, which make things a little bit more efficient, and obviously more efficient makes things more competitive in comparison to other applications that are within the same let's call it within the same narrative. Ultimately, we're talking about projects like Tau, right? Tau is one of the projects that a lot of people are focusing on in comparison to the ZERO1 DEAI project. All right, so that's that. Feel free to go through that again because I already covered it. Just want to go through this white paper so we can make these connections, and it goes through the details, and it gives some visuals as to what things may look like, and 20 plus multimodal tools. They got tools going on for development, and then the cipher, the dApp chain, guys. Again, feel free to check this out. The validator network. They got rapid transaction to finality. All the things that we can expect that a lot of the layer ones will be talking about: speed and transaction fees, and how they're gonna basically consensus mechanisms and all that kind of good stuff. Zero construct program, top tier DEI incubator. We talked about the incubator, getting the supporting new projects for the ecosystem ready for deployment. One token for the entire vertical, which is the DEAI token. Now we have to understand is right now it's an ERC20 cryptographic token. It's deployed on Ethereum, but because they plan on getting their mainnet on EVM, it's very possible that we're going to see tokens across all EVM compatible chains, and there are many out there. So this cross compatibility is obviously a hot topic as well, and I'm glad to see that a lot of projects are valuing this EVM compatibility narrative. Being able to deploy projects across multiple chains makes things a lot better and increases the ecosystems for all these chains. It's a good bullish thing in my opinion. Let's keep on moving on. Let's see what else we got here. Just the faster, cheaper, and for everyone, guys. A lot more jargon about faster and cheaper and why the layer 1 is great. 1,000 times more affordable as proof of work, and as we mentioned already, economically designed for inclusivity, open, and of course the consensus mechanism being proof of stake means that as a staking holder, as a staker, you're going to be able to get rewarded, and including being part of the DAO to vote on different decisions across the project. That's interesting, of course, for decentralization. So there's a lot of factors as to why they got into the proof of stake based alternative instead of proof of work. So feel free to read that, guys. It's obviously there's viable. If you've been around the crypto space, you by now should kind of know what the differences are. And if you don't, guys, I would suggest that you do some good research on the technology instead of just the fundamentals, because sometimes the understanding, the consensus mechanisms is very, very important. So that's that. What else do we have there? The blueprint, guys. This is very cumbersome. I found this to be useful, but not focusing on it at the current moment. And as we keep on going down the journey ahead, we talked about the roadmap, very clear, concise, and down right back into the talent. Okay, this is where things kind of get interesting for me, not in a bad way. Let's be clear, but it's just about we got to iron a few things out. Number one, like I mentioned, the CEO is Agent 0x. He's the CMO, the CEO, and I believe ultimately he's anonymous, which he's very clear about being anonymous. Maybe he gets doxxed later on. Maybe he doesn't. Who knows? But the rest of the team, the other talent, Herman, Rusty, Andrew, the head a developer, an advisor. So all these individuals are doxxed. So what I did do is go on their LinkedIn account. And before I do that, just keep in mind the team is in talks with talented ex-Google and ex-Amazon developers and advisors. These individuals have many, many years of experience, 50 years of experience plus in the industries, in programming, software engineering, and engineering software solutions. That's really good. And they are they have experience in Wormhole, Solana, Say, many other blockchains, including a Ledger, the wallet. So that's really, really good. And you can see they have some logos, guys. The logos bother me. Be careful with the logos. Okay, so but all good still. Now, if we kind of go and look into what I found here on Herman, ultimately there's some experience that he has here. Obviously, right now he's with ZERO1 Labs, but also full-time and co-founder, CTO at ideasoft.io. Okay, so you guys know what I do here. I look at their experience. I look at where they're allocating their human resources, which is their own personal time, and where are they being spread across. Right now, you can see their blockchain architect, present. So present, board member, present. They're basically partners. Are they presently here? Present, general, and a partner of venture partners. You can see this is probably a VC of some sort, venture capitalism. So it's a very active individual, which means how much effort is really being put into, the main focus here, which is ZERO1 Labs. I'm not saying that it isn't. I'm just saying let's be thinking here is how can an individual be spread so thin across so many, other projects or other obligations. Let's put it that way. However, the guy is definitely capable. As you can see, lots of experience within the tech space, in particular blockchain and architecture, which is great. Then we have Rusty, and I only kept these two. I only looked at these two, but you can see full-time right now at Asymmetrics, part-time at ZERO1 Labs, and then blockchain development full-time here at Ideasoft. And you notice the correlation. Both of them are basically full-time and basically a CTO and co-founder of this Ideasoft. So it looks like they're coming from one location, which is Ideasoft, and slowly came up with this project called ZERO1 Labs, which is not a bad thing, but we just want to get an idea of where ZERO1 Labs lands in their grand scheme of things on their daily, basis. Or what kind of efforts they put on a daily basis. This is my only major concern. Now, I was able to get into other team members, but they were a lot more clean and a lot more clear. So I didn't spend that much time. But for example, Rusty, head of the blockchain, 7+ years of blockchain. He has lots of experience. That's great. And again, anonymous here, and 8+ years and lots of experience, 5 years in DEAI development with Wormhole. Of course, lots of experience. And Andrew L in global Ledger advisor, has experience with Ledger. So this is great. These are all great things. We just got to keep in mind about the human capital, human resources. What else do we have here? Let's see. Was there anything with regards to tokenomics? I didn't see anything on the light paper. Maybe I scraped right through it, but it's okay. I found, let's use this website for tokenomics. Ultimately, you can see that there is an allocation. Basically, the token allocation is as such. We have a scenario where we have the ecosystem fund represents 15%. Okay, so the ecosystem fund should be one that is governed by the DAO. Core contributors, obviously, they're individuals that are early to the project, that are developing the project, that are working for the project, and so on and so forth. 15% is allocated to them. Foundation should be governed by the DAO as well. Public sale, this is for people, that are general public getting issuing tokens. Advisors, 5%. So there's not much here. Angel round, early seed round, basically to raise liquidity, to raise capital, 5%. And incentives, another 2.5%. Not much. You got to admit, the majority of the tokens, the majority of the token allocation is here on the validators. Okay, so I scrolled up here for a second on the validators, which represents the gray area. So the gray, the ecosystem fund, growth fund. I like the ecosystem growth funds. I like that as long as they're used responsibly. That's actually really, really useful. And core contributors, of course, everybody's got to eat. People working need to eat. But the validation means that anybody that is there helping to keep the ecosystem going, to keep the network alive, is basically getting rewarded. And you can see that it represents 37.5%. I think that this is fair. right? It's not completely fair launch in the sense that all of them are issued to the general market or public to the public, but we have to understand that a project needs liquidity to basically run its operation. It needs that. We need, core contributors need funded. We need a foundation to have a bit of, liquidity to deploy when they want to get listed on exchanges, marketing funds, and so on and so forth. So in a way, this is fair because it's responsible for the project itself. You need this liquidity. I've seen projects suffer doing fair launches, and because they don't have any liquidity to get listed on exchanges or even to run any marketing campaigns, right? So this is what I kind of feel like this is fair enough to suggest that this is responsible. This is the right basically balance between fair and maybe, let's say, having enough raising liquidity to deploy the project successfully. We want success here, and they need liquidity to do that. So that's not bad of a scenario. Now, obviously, these tokens that we're talking about are behind the schedule because this is a proof of stake. We have to understand that these tokens are already minted, and the reality is that we got to get these things going. Now, during mainnet right now, the total supply, and we'll talk about that in a second. The total supply is doesn't resemble the max supply, so more tokens have to enter circulation. But we do have to understand that as those tokens get minted and as we see these tokens get vested, what we have a schedule that we gotta accommodate. And this schedule, you can see, is just at the beginning, guys. This project is fresh, it's new, and that means that there's going to be a lot of tokens being unlocked over the next little while. And you can see that, generally speaking, that we need this vesting schedule to limit the amount of dilution of the tokens that are entering. And if we go to the different formats to see what's happening here, you can see validators are currently slowly getting their tokens issued. Ecosystem growth fund are slowly. The public sale, tokens are already 100% at Genesis, and you can see the cliff, the 3-month cliff, then 7% daily for 4 years. You can see their schedule. The schedule is quite clear, quite slow and steady, and you can see that the angel round, which is only 5%. Let's be real, it's only 5%. They got 15% at TGE, and 15, not 50, 15. And then 1 month cliff. Then after 1 month, they were getting 31% daily for 9 months. And about half of them already, issued. And if they were going to sell and they were going to dump, half of them already out there ready to sell and dump if that's the case. But again, keep in mind, it's slow and steady. And not only that, it's only 5%. This is what makes things fair here with this vesting schedule and the token distribution. So, and obviously incentives and a lot of good stuff. And you can see that a lot of tokens do need to enter the market still, but you have the cliff that's protecting the dilution, and you'll have the slow bleed of tokens over time. And again, you can see what's happening here on the current date. We're getting some tokens unlocked, but really this is the chart that I appreciate the most, because you can see that the majority of the tokens, after a bit of time, which is right around here in April 2026 or in June, basically the summer, spring to summer, we slowly taper off where the majority of the tokens are already out there, which means that we got about a year of emissions, slow and steady emissions. Now the question is this: does the demand outperform the supply? So although new tokens are going to be entering the market over time, is the demand during this bull run going to outperform the supply as the tokens get released? And if you believe that that's the case, if you believe that ultimately the value proposition behind this project is so bullish that people will be buying regardless of the tokens entering the market, then we should see a rise in price in the short term. But don't get it twisted, guys, because in a bear market, when we hit a level of which the market looks like it's going to roll over, when Bitcoin hits those top dollars, when we see the market very euphoric and the end of an altcoin season and all of that stuff, believe it, a lot of liquidity would have entered the market. A lot of people would have made tons of capital, and everybody that got their tokens unlocked throughout this level or throughout this stage will most likely take profit and walk away being profitable. And this is how we get into a bear market. This is how we can see the price drop significantly, and obviously we reaccumulate once we see a lot of these tokens enter the market once again. Of course, there's going to be some token stake, there's going to be some long-term hodlers. I get it. But this is how bear markets work. Ultimately, when you see these tokens enter the market, eventually we see profit taking. Profit taking is absolutely normal and healthy. So expect that to happen. Peaks and valleys, ebb and flows, prepare. All right, guys, what else do we have here? We talked about the team. We looked over their overall LinkedIn. We talked about some major value propositions here. We talked about the light paper, went through the light paper. The light paper seems decent. The website is very clear, kind of goes through a lot of the major implications here on the light paper. I would like to see a nice Git book type of white paper or documentation that kind of gives us all this detail all in one place. But so far so good, and overall it seems very clear what the value proposition is and where they're heading. All right, guys, let's begin. You guys know that I do release a infographic to you guys just as a summary as to what is happening here with this project. So let's get right into it. You can see that ultimately, as of today, more or less, guys, I know we've been getting a lot of volatility in the last little while. We've been seeing the market come down just a bit. We do see that the price is more or less at about 30 cents, which is fine. Okay, market cap, it's a small market cap, $120 million market cap. Trading volume, it's decent at 9%. We got the overall supply, which is good. 10% of the supply is in circulation of the 1 billion tokens. So we have to understand that right now we have a max supply of 1 billion, but the total is kind of limited at this current moment. I think they're going to be releasing a little bit more during mainnet. So that's that. So not bad. We're talking about small cap. We're talking about a large cap. And then if we start looking at the ecosystem, although I'm so bullish on the ecosystem, their approach to the ecosystem is still kind of limited. So this is where these numbers kind of have to be taken, with a grain of salt as well, because really I like their efforts in growing their ecosystem and the strength that they're putting behind that. So I give it an 8 out of 10, but they're waiting on mainnet. They're right. They have the key maker, Zero Construct, and the cipher very clear as to how they're going to be approaching the ecosystem growth. That plan is super, super clear. They have Nexus and Serpent and a few others in their incubator, and also lined up as partners, a lot of integration as far as their ecosystem. But we need to see the ecosystem actually happen. In order for me to get super, super bullish, follow through needs to be accomplished. So I believe that it's going to happen, but right now, as its current state, we're still in speculation, but I like their approach. So I give it 8 out of 10 just based on that. And the emphasis on ecosystem needs to be acknowledged. Utility, rewards, governance, settlement, staking, all very typical, all very clear. A lot of blockchains use this type of utility and they hit it right. So ultimately 10 out of 10 right there. Their roadmap, hitting targets, timeframes provided, cipher beta and mainnet launch is currently, I think, their main focus based on their roadmap. This is where they're allocating resources, which is good. Lots of experience and talent. Anonymous CEO, not doxed, and there's a lot of experience. I just named a few: Ledger, Say, and Solana, and a few others, wormholes, and all kinds of other good stuff. The only limitation that I have here that I have to acknowledge is that the CEO is anonymous. So is that a bad thing? Is it a good thing? What is the thing? The reality is anonymous, being undoxed and being anonymous is not something that a lot of people appreciate. Okay, regardless, because we want to know who's calling the shots, who's really, and I know it's governed behind the DAO. In this case, not even the CEO is calling shots, but still, who's the leadership? Ultimately, when there's a conference or some sort of meeting or some sort of tweet or a post on X or whatever the case may be by this individual, do we trust this individual to be representing correctly? And the only way we're going to know is looking at their previous experience and what they're all about. And being doxxed does help that. So I have to keep it clear at about 9 out of 10. I am happy to say that the team is solid, but I would like to see, the CEO doxxed if that's possible, of course. And obviously the decision, a lot of the times is very clear as to why. Trust me, I understand why. Being doxed or undoxed is a great decision ultimately. Okay, so let's move on here. My final verdict, guys. Obviously, the verdict is, a little bit, I have to consider many factors. And it's not just about tokenomics only. It's about the overall value proposition of the project. Ultimately, they're new. They're very, very, very new. And they are transitioning from just being associated or identified as an AI project to a decentralized AI project. I think that's a narrative in itself in a way, because I've been saying this for a good while, is a lot of AI projects do not have a decentralized infrastructure. So let's focus on that in the next little while, how we can integrate DePIN into AI appropriately so that they could, amalgamate so that they could be called a decentralized AI platform instead of just AI. So I feel like this is what they're doing, and which is directly in line with what I've been saying in the next little while. The issue is that I would like to see a little bit more information about their plan with regards to their back-end infrastructure, the GPUs, who's owning them, where are they getting them, how are they distributing them, where are they getting the GPU power for this AI project. That's what I want to know, and I didn't really get it yet. Okay, so maybe more clarity, maybe it's just me. Feel free to let me know in the comment section below if there's something that I'm missing here. Obviously, I would be glad to do an update on this deep dive in the future so that we can, put a spotlight on some of the details that maybe are missing from this. But ultimately, as a retail investor, this is what I got. Very new project, lots of upside potential because of that, but obviously a lot of speculation because of it. We got to understand the risk to reward here. Further developments into mainnet need to prove full decentralization, as I mentioned, implementation of DePIN, as I mentioned, a proof of stake to improve efficiency. Really, potentially a great decision here, because of course the cost of AI and running AI is very, very expensive. So keeping this barrier of entry or barrier out of the way, which is cost, is very, very important. No VCs, none that I was aware of. Obviously, that's great. Fair launch. I would say it's a fair launch because they did the right thing with regards to liquidity, allocating liquidity where a project or a business or a up and coming venture needs a bit of liquidity and other factors other than just rewards. So this is very useful. They need marketing dollars, they need to pay the team, they need runway funds to get exchange listings and so on and so forth. So I appreciate the launch in their token distribution. Open source, EVM compatible to enhance interoperability. Very hot narrative, very hot topic. I think it's a very strategic move for ecosystem growth. Again, part of that big idea of their ecosystem efforts. Logos across the website and light paper need thought. I think that some of it is a bit deceiving, and ultimately I've noticed that there are some people that believe that some of those logos actually have validity, and I'm going to point them out clearly. Logos like the Akash logo and the Arweave logo and the Filecoin logo, I've seen individuals speak about that those logos belong to their ecosystem, and in fact that they're partners and things like that. So I feel like that needs to be resolved and clarified very, very quickly. It's a bit deceiving. Some team members are full-time employed at Ideasoft.io. I am not sure what the obligation is there and what the involvement is and the relationship is. It could be a positive thing, it could be a negative thing. I'm just saying, neutrally speaking, these members are also fully employed in other organizations, institutions, and have obligations with these other institutions. But at the same time, they all seem there's a relationship there somehow with the Ideasoft. Okay, so I would like a little bit of clarity there. It would be kind of good, but ultimately it's not necessary as long as the team is out there doing what they got to do. But of course, to check off everything and to be fully confident, that would be great. Active Discord community, very helpful top members. So I wasn't sure who was really helping me in the sense, because I felt the sense of, I wasn't really able to get top tier team members, but I was able to get definitely influential people that are at the highest level on the Discord, which were very, very helpful, guys. I was able to get a lot of my questions answered, which was useful. There was a bit of ambiguity that was, clarified for me, which was great. But, I still feel like ultimately, especially with a young project, despite how busy they are, there has to be somebody that has a moment to speak with the general community, especially after a few days, right? Like, especially if you're asking questions. Now, I know they must get inundated with tons and tons of correspondence from many, many people. I get that. But, I felt like, after being, in their community for a few days and asking the right questions and obviously letting them know what my objective was, I would have appreciated, some correspondence with somebody at the top that could kind of of lead me in the right direction with some of my questions. Although the top members that were there were very useful, and I give them a lot of credit, and I hope the team gives them a lot of credit as well for the amount of efforts that they put there on the Discord. So very, very appreciative and very professional on their behalf. Now, my target, guys, take this very, very lightly with a grain of salt, of course, because obviously I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know where this project is going, but I can tell you one thing. If they continue doing what they're doing with their objective and with their current stance, I don't see how DEAI, ZERO1 cannot compete with major players within the narrative, such as Tau. Okay. And now I know that's an ambitious thing to say, but the reality is there are some certain value propositions that DEAI offers that are better than Tau. And we got to be clear. This is where we have an open market with competition. When competition sees a major player, they start to focus on some of their weak spots. And their weak spots are called opportunities. And when you see those opportunities, you got to be ready to take advantage of them. Okay, so that's that. So my price target obviously is at about $15, given that DEAI could, kind of hit those targets. It's 70x. It's a big one. And I give it 9 out of 10. And the reason why I give it 9 out of 10 is because ultimately, they got a lot of good things happening here, right? A lot of good things happening here. Now, we have the socials that need a little bit of, just a little bit of work, because really we've been seeing that in the last little while, although their follower count is up, their traction on their posts are coming down a little bit. So yes, they have 51 posts in the last 30 days, but in comparison to the last 30 days before that, they're actually down 15%. Now, it's not a lot. I get it. It's not a lot. And the market in general has been very, demoralizing in the sense that, things have been a little bit red and not so, interesting. So I get it, but there's still okay. 9 out of 10 right there. Tokenomics, fair launch, all this good stuff. Foundation, most allocation is for rewards. Ecosystem support, foundation fund governed by the DAO, which is good. Partnerships, Google Web3 program grant. Is that a partnership? I'm on the fence about calling that a partnership, but the Web3 program is really good. Netmind helping with GPU processing, and Aether, a future merger of tech or cooperation there. Really, really good. I give it 8 out of 10 because of the ambiguity and the lack of focus. I'm not sure where Google fits into this. And I noticed that sometimes the website with regards to their partnership page is a bit glitchy. So I don't know. Maybe I was hoping that maybe some of that was just a website issue or something, but really, so far so good. 8 out of 10. In the exchanges, guys, you could take this as an opportunity for sure. And don't get mistaken. Some of these these small numbers, the reality is they could be looked at as opportunity. And there's not many small numbers, guys. I'm ranking this project fairly high, as you can see. It's doing pretty good. And this number, this 4 right here, 4 out of 10, in my opinion, a lot of the times this is an opportunity. Why? Because all it needs to do is get listed on Binance or Coinbase, and this thing's running. It's going for another move. Bitmart, xt.com, Mexi, CoinX, and Bilexi, whatever this is, small exchanges for the most part. Mexi being a mid to large nowadays is a great thing, but ultimately we need higher level, bigger exchanges, more volume. And as I mentioned, volume is pretty decent. Trading volume is 9% of the market cap at the current moment. So that's pretty good. I like 10%, 10 to 15%. It's right into the margin of where I find that there's a lot of market participation getting involved here. So I kind of like it. So again, back to my verdict. Verdict is, if everything goes good, I can see a $15. I could even see a $20, really catching up to Tau. And remember, these price targets don't even include the bull run. This is current prices. This is me saying if DEAI will catch up with Tau at its current evaluation, at its current market cap. Not to say in a bull run when we see, total market cap hit $5 trillion, this could be a lot higher for that matter. So we got to keep it, very neutral. Just keep in mind, it's very bullish. If it catches up with the Tau, which is its major competitor, we can see some major gains here. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts as well. So let's see what's going on with the overall price action, because DEAI and the rest of the market, for that matter, has been a little bit slumpy. And at the end of the day, we have to take full advantage of opportunities such as these. We can see that DEAI is taking a bit of a beating, and the question is, where do we buy in? Now, when we see this dip like this, without structure, without any support, without any level of horizontal support, things get a little bit hectic. But nonetheless, let's come up with this plan. Let's see what's going on here. The only thing that comes to my mind at the current moment is, accumulation. This is what I see here. I see accumulation. I see huge volume right into here, where you can see the price actions coming back to this level, and we can see the top of the volume, which is right around this level as well, which is very, very clear. Now we do see a bit of a volume gap right into this level, and you can see the oscillators are not even registering anything yet because it's still young and they're still new. Right here, it's just got listed on MEXC, and I'm using a MEXC chart because I'm assuming that a lot of us will be using this type of chart anyways. MEXC's one of the more popular exchanges listed there. So this is a small volume gap, as you can see. Let me see if I can change the color here real quickly. We'll make it red, so make us understand that ultimately this is an opportunity. This is a scenario where we could see a bit of a jitter in the future. You can see on the way down, it totally disrespected it. It totally didn't really care. It got rejected and it's coming right back to the bottom of the range. Now, is there enough data to suggest a bounce at this level? No, there isn't. There isn't. That's the risk we take. This is the issue. We're in dip discovery pretty much. We're pretty much in a zone where we don't know where we're going to hit a bottom. We could hit a bottom down here. Who knows where? We can hit a bottom right now for all we know, right? At this current moment, this is a high likelihood. It's a possibility because of the liquidity in this level. There's a lot of emotional individuals at this level. So what do we want to do? We want to prepare our bags or prepare our setup for this possibility. But doesn't mean that you have to get in with heavy positions. Just allocate the correct amount equal to the possibility. I say that this is a good chance, but I'm not willing to get in with heavy bags. Let's get into lower time frames here for a second to see what we can come up with on the 4 hour. The 4 hour, nothing major. We broke below this level right here, which was at the point of control at one point. You can see this nice structure. We broke bullish, got rejected, and came back down. In fact, we broke below the structure again, below the point of control, and coming down back to the bottom of the basically liquidity levels where a lot of people accumulated. Guys, it's not looking good, but this is where things start to get better, because when things look bad, that's the time to accumulate. You're buying red, you're buying liquidations, you're buying people's capitulations, you're buying the opportunity to buy as low as possible. You're getting in at as low as possible in preparation for a reversal. Now we're getting onto the 1 hour. Do we have anything? We're oversold on the 1 hour. We could be getting a rollover for a further dip. As you can see, EMA is crossing to the downside maybe in the next little while. But as you can see, this level, as we approach the horizontal, there's no real signs of a reversal yet. There's nothing really. We're making lower lows and lower highs on the 1 hour, the 4 hour, the daily, all of it. It's still dumping down and pushing down, and nothing really that clear. Now, I'm going to stick on the 4 hour because at least our oscillators are giving us something. Now, on the 4 hour, what I would like to see is bullish divergence right into this level. As we see the momentum hit oversold conditions, I would like to see the bullish divergence, and I would want to see the volatility stay oversold as it has been doing for the last while. In addition to that, if you want to get more confluence, wait for the EMAs here on the trend oscillator to get across, and wait for a green histogram bar, because that would give you an indication that we're ready to reverse to the upside. There's a lot of work to be done, but mind you that it could be that we go sideways for a little while before we get that reversal to the upside. We want structure. So ultimately, we don't want to take risk. We don't want to try to catch a falling knife. We want structure. So what does that mean? For those of you that are new to trading, we want some sort of pattern. We want something to give us a bit of confidence with the price that it's looking for a reversal. We want a sign that the bears are showing weakness, that they're not able to pass through a certain level. And you got to admit, there's not much strength into this level, because below this we have a ton of volume. So all we're really looking for right now, really depending on, is this bottom right here, as I mentioned, and an overall catalyst that could get this price rocking upwards in the next little while, which means maybe an upgrade, maybe the main net, maybe a listing, maybe something like that. So I'm going to make this a little bit more accurate and put it here. This is where the volume ends, guys. So we tagged it very, very nicely. We could get a structural change, a change of character here, where we start making higher highs and higher lows, but I believe that it's going to take some time. A V recovery is very unlikely. Maybe we do get a nice bounce to the upside. Then we come down, make a nice rounded bottom, and call this an Adam and Eve pattern. That's a structure. You know where to put a stop loss right underneath the lows, and then you anticipate a bounce, and I would be taking profit here, and I would be preparing to take a bit of profit here, because we do have that empty volume gap right into that level that shows us weakness, and that shows us that we could have some emotional individuals here, basically taking profit as well, because guess what? People here are probably still holding from this entry, and they're underwater. So getting back to this level might cause some people to say, know what, I'm getting out, breaking even, and doing my thing, right? So we got to understand that right now is very critical, but it's very risky as well. It's not the time to get into big positions right now. It's time to start DCing and slowly dollar cost averaging into a position over time as we build that structure that is supposedly supposed to give us some good confidence of a reversal. Right now, there is no indication. So what I would be doing, obviously not financial advice, guys, I do put my money where my mouth is I would be getting in with 10%, maximum 20. I like 10 right here, 10% at a time as we build the structure. Look at the volume bar. Look at the volume candle right here. Volume histogram, this histogram bar is showing us a lot of sell-off pressure to the downside still. Is this enough to suggest that the sell pressure is over? I don't know, guys, but I'm not willing to find out. I'm not willing to take the risk. Guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor. Slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join me live at 8 p.m. EST, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.